Hey guys, welcome to Initiate Scientia, where science meets you. Be cool, comfortably watch our videos, and all the best for your upcoming exams. Stay safe and be healthy. Chapter 1, Force. Moment of a force and equilibrium. Translational and rotational motions. A rigid body, when acted upon by a force, can have two kinds of motions: linear or translational motion and rotational motion. Linear or translational motion. When a force acts on a stationary rigid body which is free to move, the body starts moving in a straight path in the direction of the applied force. This is called linear or translational motion. For example, in figure 1.1 over here, on pushing a ball lying on a floor, it begins to move linearly. Second type is rotational motion. If a body is pivoted at a point and a force is applied on the body at a suitable point, it rotates the body about the axis passing through the pivoted point. This is the turning effect of force, and the motion of the body is called as rotational motion. For example, if a wheel is pivoted at its center and a force is applied tangentially on its rim, as shown in the figure 1.2, the wheel rotates about an axis through its center. Similarly, when a force is applied normally on the handle of a door, the door begins to rotate about an axis passing through the hinges on which the door rests. Moment or turning effect of a force, also called as torque. Consider a body which is pivoted at a point O. If a force F is applied horizontally on the body with its line of action in the direction AP as shown in figure, here, the force is unable to produce linear motion of the body in its direction because the body is not free to move. But this force turns or brings about rotation in the body about the vertical axis passing through the point O in the direction shown in the figure 1.3. That is this one. The force rotates the body anti-clockwise. Next, factors affecting the turning of a body. The turning effect of a force on a body depends on the following two factors. Now this is important: the magnitude of force applied and the perpendicular distance of the line of action of the force from the axis of rotation or the pivoted point. Moving on to the definition, the turning effect on the body about an axis is due to the moment of force or torque applied on the body. Measurement of moment of force or torque. The moment of a force or torque is equal to the product of the magnitude of the force and the perpendicular distance of the line of action of the force from the axis of rotation. In the figure 1.3, the line of action of force F is shown by the dotted line AP, and the perpendicular distance from the pivoted point O on the line of action of force is OP. Therefore, moment of force about the axis passing through the point O is force into perpendicular distance of the force from the point O. This formula is important. That is nothing but F into OP. Force into OP, the perpendicular distance. Next, for producing maximum turning effect on a body by a given force, the force is applied on the body at a point for which the perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the axis of rotation is maximum. In this situation, the given force provides the maximum torque to turn the body. Units of moment of force. Unit of moment of force is unit of force into unit of distance. Therefore, the SI unit of force is Newton and the unit of SI unit of distance is meter. So, SI unit of force is Newton meter. In CGS, you call it as dyne centimeter. Next, these units are related. As you can see here, 1 Newton meter is 10 to the power 5 dyne into 10 square centimeter. That is 10 past 7 dyne centimeter. 1 kgf into m is 9.8 Newton meter, and 1 gram force into centimeter is 980 dyne centimeter. This relation is again important. Next, clockwise and anti-clockwise moments. Conventionally, if the effect on the body is to turn it anti-clockwise, the moment of force is called anti-clockwise moment. And if it is taken positive, while if the effect on the body is to turn it clockwise, the moment of force is called clockwise moment and it is taken as negative. The moment of force is a vector quantity. The direction of anti-clockwise moment is along the axis of rotation outwards, while that of clockwise moment is along the axis of rotation inwards. So, the direction of rotation of a body can be changed by two ways. One, by changing the point of application of force, as shown in figure 1.4a, shows the anti-clockwise and clockwise moments produced in a disc pivoted at its center by changing the point of application of force F from point A to point B. The second would be by changing the direction of force that is shown here in 1.4b, shows the anti-clockwise and clockwise moments produced on a pivoted axle by changing the direction of force F at the free end of the axle. So some common examples of moment of force. To open or shut door, we apply a force F normal to the door at its handle P, which is provided at the maximum distance from the hinges. As shown over here, it will be from the maximum distance from the hinge. Next, the upper circular stone of a hand floor grinder is provided with a handle near its rim so that it can easily be rotated about the iron pivot at its center by applying a small force at the handle. Next, for turning a steering wheel, a force is applied tangentially on the rim of the wheel. The sense of rotation of the wheel is changed by changing the point of application of force without changing the direction of force. Next, in a bicycle, to turn the rear wheel anti-clockwise, a small force is applied on the foot pedal of a toothed wheel of size bigger than the rear wheel, so that the perpendicular distance of the point of application of force from the axle of the wheel is large. The toothed wheel is joined to the rear wheel by a chain passing over the teeth. Next, a spanner used to tighten or loosen a nut has a long handle to produce a large moment of force by a small force applied normally at the end of its handle, as shown in this figure. Next, a jack screw used to lift a heavy load such as a vehicle has a long arm so that the less effort is needed to rotate it so as to raise or lower the load. As a conclusion, we can see that from the above examples, we conclude that the turning of a body about an axis depends not only on the magnitude of force, but it also depends on the perpendicular distance of the line of action of applied force from the axis of rotation. Larger the perpendicular distance, less is the force needed to produce the same turning effect and vice versa. Next is couple. A single force alone does not cause rotation of a pivoted body. Actually, rotation is always produced by a pair of forces. In the above examples, rotation occurs due to the force externally applied and the force of reaction perpendicular at the pivoted point. The force of reaction at the pivot is equal in magnitude, but opposite in direction to the applied force. The moment of the force of reaction about the pivot is 0 because its distance from the axis of rotation is 0. So the force of reaction at the fixed point or the pivot is not explicitly shown in the figure 1.3 to 1.8. Now, the pair of forces formed by external force and the force of reaction is called as couple. Thus, two equal and opposite parallel forces not acting along the same line form a couple. A couple is always needed to produce a rotation. For example, when we open a door, the rotation of the door is produced by a couple consisting of two forces. One is the force which we exert at the handle of the door, and two, an equal and opposite force of reaction at the hinge. Next, example. To open the nut of a car wheel, we apply equal forces each F at the two ends of a wrench arm in opposite directions as shown. Similarly, while turning a water tap, tightening the cap of an ink pot, turning the key in the hole of a lock, winding a clock with a key, turning the steering wheel of a car, pushing the pedals of a bicycle, etc., a pair of forces, that is couple, is applied for rotation. Now, what is moment of couple? Figure 1.4, you can see over here, figure 1.4 illustrates the effect produced by a couple. AB is a bar which is pivoted at the point O. At the ends A and B, two equal and opposite forces each of magnitude F are applied. The perpendicular distance between the two forces AB is D, which is called the couple arm. So this is a couple arm. The two forces cannot produce translational motion as the resultant sum in any direction is 0, but each force is capable of producing a turning effect on the bar in the same direction. Thus, the two forces together form a couple which rotates the bar about the point O. So here in figure we can see that the bar is rotated in anti-clockwise direction. Moment of force F at end A is F into OA, perpendicular distance. Moment of force F at end B is F into OB. total moment of couple would be F into OA plus F into OB. Taking F common, we can write F into AB. So F into D. Thus, moment of couple is either force into perpendicular distance between the two forces or couple arm. Next, equilibrium of bodies. We have read that when a single force acts on a body, it can produce translational motion if the body is free to move, or can produce rotational motion if the body is pivoted or fixed at a point. But in certain circumstances, it is possible to apply a number of forces, 2 or more, such that the resultant of all the forces is 0. So, they do not change the state of rest or linear motion of the body. And the algebraic sum of moments of all the forces about the fixed point is 0. So, they do not change the rotational state of the body. Then, the body is said to be in equilibrium. Thus, when a number of forces acting on a body produce no change in its state of rest or of linear or rotational motion, the body is said to be in a state of equilibrium. Moving on, kinds of equilibrium. Equilibrium is of two kinds, static equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium. Static equilibrium. When the body remains in a state of rest under the influence of several forces, the body is in static equilibrium. Example, in figure 1.15 over here, if a body lying on a tabletop is pulled by a force F to its left and by an equal force F dash to its right along the same line F and F dash, then the body does not move. The reason is that the applied forces are equal and opposite along the same line. So they balance each other. That is, there is no net horizontal force on the body. Hence the body remains at rest, that is in static equilibrium. Moving on, if a body is lying on a table, the weight of the book exerted on the table vertically downwards is balanced by an equal and opposite force of reaction exerted by the table on the book vertically upwards. Thus, the body is in static equilibrium. In a beam balance, when the beam is balanced in horizontal position, the clockwise moment of force due to object on its right pan balances the anti-clockwise moment of force due to the weights on its left pan. And the beam has no rotational motion. That is in static equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium. When a body remains in the same state of motion, either translational or rotational, under the influence of several forces, the body is said to be in dynamic equilibrium. Example, a raindrop reaches the Earth's surface with a constant velocity. The weight of the falling drop is balanced by the sum of the buoyant force and the force due to friction of air. Next, an aeroplane moves at a constant height when upward lift on it balances its weight downwards. Next, a stone tied at the end of a string when whirled in a circular path with a uniform speed is in dynamic equilibrium because the tension in string provides the centripetal force required for circular motion. So what are the conditions for equilibrium? The resultant of all the forces acting on the body should be 0. Next, the algebraic sum of moments of all the forces acting on the body about the point of rotation should be 0. That is, the sum of anticlockwise moments about the axis of rotation must be equal to the sum of clockwise moments about the same axis. Principle of moment. When several forces act on a pivoted body, they tend to rotate it about an axis passing through the pivot. The resultant moment of all the forces about the pivoted point is obtained by taking the algebraic sum of the moment of each force about that point. To find the algebraic sum, the anticlockwise moment is taken positive. We need to remember this. While the clockwise moment is taken negative. According to the principle of moments, if the algebraic sum of moments of all the forces acting on the body about the axis of rotation is 0, then the body is in equilibrium. So according to the principle of momentum in equilibrium, sum of anticlockwise moments is equal to sum of clockwise moments. A physical balance or beam balance works on the principle of momentum. Okay, next, verification of principle of moments. Suspend a meter rule horizontally from a fixed support by means of a strong thread at O, as shown in the figure. Here is the thread. Next, now suspend two spring balances A and B on the meter rule on either side of the thread. Suspend some slotted weights W1 and W2 as shown on the spring balance A and B respectively. The meter rule may tilt to one side. Now adjust either the slotted weights on the spring balance or the position of the spring balance on either side of the thread from O in such a way that the meter rule becomes horizontal again. Let the weight suspended from the spring balance A on the right side of the thread be W1 at a distance OA equal to 1, while the weight suspended from the spring balance B on the left side of the thread be W2 at the distance OB equal to L2. The weight W1 tends to turn the meter rule clockwise, while the weight W2 tends to turn the meter rule anti-clockwise. Next, so clockwise moment of weight W1 about point O is W1 into L1. Anti-clockwise moment of weights W2 about the point O would be W2 into L2. In equilibrium, when the meter rule is horizontal, it is found that W1 L1 is equal to W2 L2. That is, clockwise moment is equal to anti-clockwise moments. This verifies the principle of moments. Center of gravity. Center of gravity, we have read in class 9 that gravitational force between two masses is always attractive. Earth attracts every particle towards it by the force of gravity on the particle, which is called the weight W of the particle. A body can be considered to be made up of a large number of particles of weight W1, W2, W3 and so on. As the size of the body is quite small in comparison to the size of Earth, the force of gravity W acting on these particles can be assumed to be parallel to each other, as shown. All these parallel forces acting in the same direction, that is vertically downwards towards the center of Earth, can be replaced by a single force W of magnitude equal to the sum of all these forces. That is, W would be equal to W1 plus W2 plus W3 plus W4, so on, where W is the total weight of the body. Now the question arises, where should the weight W act? The weight W is considered to act at a point G, such that algebraic sum of moments due to weights W1, W2 of each particle about the point G is 0. The point G is called center of gravity of the body. Now, the center of gravity CG of a body is the point about which algebraic sum of moments of weights of all the particles constituting the body is 0. The entire weight of the body can be considered to act at this point howsoever the body is placed. So note that the position of the center of gravity of a body of a given mass depends on its shape, that is on the distribution of mass of particles in it. It changes if the body is deformed. So example, the center of gravity of a uniform wire is at the middle of its length, but if the same wire is bent into the form of a circle, its center of gravity will then be at the center of the circle. It is not necessary that the center of the gravity always be within the material of the body. Example, center of gravity of a ring or a hollow sphere lies at its center where there is no material. Next, by the concept of center of gravity, a body of weight W can be considered as a point particle of weight W at its center of gravity. Center of gravity of some regular uniform objects: rod, midpoint of rod; circular disc, geometric center; solid or hollow sphere, geometric center of the sphere; solid or hollow cylinder, midpoint on the axis of cylinder; solid cone at a height h by 4 from the base on its axis; hollow cone at a height h by 3 from the base on its axis; circular ring, center of ring; triangular lamina or scalene triangle, the point of intersection of medians; parallelogram, rectangular lamina; square or rhombus lamina, the point of intersection of the diagonals. Figure 1.37 shows the position of center of gravity by the point G for a circular ring, a circular disc, triangular lamina, rectangle, parallelogram, square, rod and cylinder. Next, center of gravity and the balance point. A solid body can be balanced by supporting it at its center of gravity. For example, a uniform meter rule has its center of gravity at the 50 centimeter mark. It can be balanced on a knife edge or fingertip by keeping it exactly below the 50 centimeter mark as shown. It is possible because the algebraic sum of moments of the weights of all the particles of the rule above the knife edge or fingertip is 0. Similarly, a square thin sheet or lamina can be balanced on the tip of a nail as shown here. This is the center of gravity G. So, when a body is freely suspended from a point, it comes to rest, that is, balances in such a position that its center of gravity lies vertically below the point of suspension. This fact can be used to locate the position of the center of gravity of an irregular lamina. Determination of center of gravity of an irregular lamina by the method of balance using a plumb line. Let A be an irregular lamina. In figure 1.40, for which the position of the center of gravity is to be determined. Make 3 fine holes at A, B and C near the edge of the lamina. Now suspend the lamina along with a plumb line from the hole A on a pin or a nail clamped horizontally on a retort stand. Check that the lamina is free to oscillate. On the nail above the point of suspension, when the lamina has come to rest, draw a straight line AD, where is he? AD along the plumb line. Now repeat the procedure by suspending the lamina through the hole B. So when you suspend through B, you get perpendiculars BE, and when you hang it through C, then you get the perpendicular CF. The intersection of all these lines will result in G, that is center of gravity. Next, note, for the stable equilibrium of a body, its center of gravity must be as low as possible. It must be above the base and near the geometric center of the body. Part C will continue in the next video.
Hit the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to get instant updates of the video that we post.